Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is about the Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie case. I did a video doing a quick recap of his last words from a notepad, and I didn't see anybody do this kind of analysis, so I'm just going to knock it out for you guys. I think that the human brain, the human body, it always wants to tell the truth even when you're lying. And that's why I called the last video I did on his notepad his last lying words. Let's look at where he's telling the truth, where his word selection is telling the truth. And then I'm going to put together, it's almost like a little story. Keep in mind, this is taken out of context in the grand scheme of things, but this is right from his own word choice. Let's look at it. So stick with me here. I'm going to show you what Brian's brain was selecting to use as action verbs or descriptive language. Rushing, dark, splash, scream, shouted, breathing heavily, gasping, freezing. This is from what we know to be page 3. The next page, this is page 4. Freezing, carried her, stumbling, in shock. And on to page 5, pulled, lump on her forehead, got larger, hurt, shaking violently, sounds of pain, shakes, gasping, begging, I would shake her. And page 6, in pain, furious, Gabby's injuries, extreme pain, I ended her life. Mistakes I made. I panicked. In shock. Page 7, rushed, kill, in jail over my mistake. And page 8, I have killed and hated people. So let's tie this all together. I think if you take the words out of the context that he's placed them and just put them together, that it tells quite a descriptive, probably more honest tale of what happened. And you can move the words around, like, you know, how you put those little magnets on your refrigerator and make sentences. And I think it tells a story that they were rushing in the dark, perhaps after the Mary Piglets. So they're rushing in the dark, a splash, they're arguing, there was a scream, shouting, heavily breathing, gasping, freezing, carried her, probably after he struck her, maybe after she was deceased, stumbling in shock. He pulled at her, pulled Gabby. There was a lump on her forehead that got larger, meaning things get larger when they have time to try to heal, meaning she was alive after he first struck her in the head, or she was struck in the head. Hurt, shaking violently, shakes, gasping, begging, I would shake her, in pain, furious, Gabby's injuries, extreme pain, I ended her life, mistakes I made, I panicked, in shock, rushed, in jail over my mistake, I have killed, hated people. Now, has anybody put that together for you like this, using his own words? Yes, they're out of context, but his brain is the one formulating the word choice that he's using to tell his story, which we all kind of know is a lie. Look at this. The Teton County coroner said the manner of death was homicide and the cause of death was by manual strangulation / throttling. And manual strangulation means using your hands to strangle somebody, not necessarily using a rope or another item. Throttling to me is almost like a shaking. So let's go back and look at this again. In my opinion, Brian's telling you what he did. That it was dark and that there was some kind of an argument, hence scream and shouting, that he hit her, causing some kind of a lump on her forehead that got larger. So it didn't happen in 1 second. I think that he hit her, and that she likely ran and he chased after her because he has to involve the water in here somehow. So I think he chased after her, and then he shook her. He was shaking her. He was up in her face. He was hurting her, and she was begging. I mean, he sit here and tells you, shakes, gasping, begging. I would shake her, in pain, furious. In the note, he implies that, or he says that Gabby was the one that was furious. I believe he was furious. He was furious. They'd had that incident at the Mary Piglets, and he was furious, and he hurt her. He shook her and caused a wound to her head. And I think the only reason he mentions that is because he wasn't sure when she would be found, and that he had to account for that wound. And so he makes up the lie and says she tripped or whatever in the stream. And then he says, I ended her life. Mistakes I made. I panicked, in shock, rushed, in jail over my mistake. I have killed. Hated people. I think, honestly, he hated people. He didn't really like people. She didn't hate people who litter. He hated people. And this is just in my opinion, folks. If an analyst looked at this and looked at the word choice, and I'm not even talking about how he says loved past tense and all the times he uses the past tense in this letter, I think that they would come to the conclusion, even without the body, to come to a conclusion that he struck her and that he shook her and that he throttled her and that she was gasping and begging while she's being throttled. And anyone who will tell you, and I hate to be graphic like this, but it takes a long time to strangle somebody to death. It's not a quick death. So I think that she knew exactly what was happening. She was looking at his eyes and she was begging and pleading with him, and that he panicked and did what he did because he had struck her, and he knew what had happened with them being pulled over, and that they had also been seen arguing at the Mary Piglets. And he didn't like people. And he did what he did. He panicked. He made mistakes. And then this is the result. The body, the brain, it wants to tell the truth. Lying is not something that it naturally wants to do. And so he's telling the story that's highly emotional. You can even see on the first page that I didn't include here that the writing is all crazy, and then it calms down. I think that his brain is telling the truth. It's just not telling it the way he wants to. And so he's selecting certain words that are truthful, and they're violent words, and they're telling the truth. The truth will out. So that's my hot take. That's my analysis. It's only my opinion. And if you feel like donating, please hop over to GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. I've got that here on the screen. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe bell, and without further ado, have an excellent day.